everybody is coming through. Hello and welcome to the March for Clean Water. It's all really exciting here. Lots and lots of people together because environmental charities, action groups and all sorts of people across the UK have come together to demand that we have clean, drinkable water to live, work and play in. So we've got an amazing group of people behind us who are all standing up and saying that we've had literally enough shit in our streams. We know that our rivers, none of them meet good standards for environmental quality. We know that they're full of sewage. We know that agricultural runoff is going into them and choking literally the life out of them. We have rivers like the River Wye in Wales and Herefordshire that are barely alive. Almost all life in them is dead because of, in that case, mostly agricultural runoff. We have other places like Lake Windermere that have hundreds of days of sewage a year dumped into them. So this is an amazing gathering, the first gathering of this kind of capacity of people across the UK of all different kinds of persuasions who all want to join together and say it is time for the government to act to clean up our water system before it's too late. We are on the edge and brink of extinction with it. So we're going to be here today doing this whole live stream about this amazing march and the people who are in it. We've got a lot of wonderful, famous people here who are lending their celebrity to this. We have people like Chris Packham with us, Robert McFarlane, Caroline Lucas. We're going to be talking to all of them. So please stick with us and, you know, next time come out on the street with us, but this time watch, join, learn and cheer this on. We're going to be playing you some lovely films that have been made which explain the crisis that our rivers are facing, and then we're going to be talking to a whole range of people. So we hope you'll stick with us on this very important march. Thank you.
We are here at the March for Clean Water, and as you can see, it looks like a river of people all wearing blue. There's bubbles in the air, tons of placards, like "No shit Sherlock," for example, and we're protesting not just sewage pollution, but agricultural pollution, plastic pollution. There's so many people from across the environmental sector here, so it's really great to see such an intersectional day. And yeah, as you can see, we have Red Rebels from Extinction Rebellion. We have people from a range of organizations, including River Action, Surfers Against Sewage, and so many more. Freshwater Habitats Trust. It's a giant coalition here, and as you can hear, there's drummers in XR drummers in back of me, and it's just such an energetic energy here today. So what we're doing today is asking the government to take action to address this crisis.
And we're trying to get through this little narrow area. I'm just really hoping we're going to be in a broad view of the river and everything. We're funneling down. I don't think from the camera right now you can see, but there are literally tens of thousands of people coming up behind me. And so we're here going past some derelict buildings and things. And who else can we talk to up here?
Chris Packham.
Yeah, shall we see if we can get a word? Sorry, Sky's just trying to get some footage. Can we move out? Getting out of the way for some other media. We have to sort of share the space where everybody wants to be up front. So we're going to try to hold space for that. Let's see if we can move over like that.
Yeah. Go around the camera.
In a while, but we're going to move over here. An amazing costume here. Live stream. Would you like to tell us who you are, what you're wearing here?
I'm known as the Wild Woman of the White. Unfortunately, I've watched my river decline over the last few years. And on my costumes, I've got Pugh, I've got toxic algae, I've got dead fish, I've got wet wipes, I've got shit on my shoes. And unfortunately, this is what it's is absolutely diabolical.
It must be horrible for you. I know you've swum in the River Wye for many, many years. What is it like for you to go and see it in this absolutely dire state?
My heart's that's why I don't yes, it is.
I think sometimes we talk about the statistics with this, which are, you know, really powerful, but there's actually this beautiful, wonderful thing that we're losing. And emotionally, how are we coping with this as a society, letting this happen?
Personally, me, the river's my life. My own is my favorite. It takes up every minute of my day. It will change, and we demand it to happen now. You know, there's been so much taken over the last 7 years to broken promises with time dates and scales. This is the time now that this new government promised to clean our rivers, prosecute polluters, and we want to see if they've got teeth, and they better have teeth.
There's a lot of people here who want the government to take action.
Yes, yeah, because they're angry. Down and just use.
Yesterday, I was this deep in a river that I paddled in as a child, which was full of sticklebacks, full of minnows, full of trout, covered in dragon and damselflies in the summer, and where I saw my first ever kingfisher. I was so excited I nearly burst. I stood there yesterday in the silty murk of a river that I couldn't see through, choked with algae due to sewage spills and agricultural runoff. That's what's brought me here today. That's what all of these people here today, but not just people who love wildlife, people who swim, people who angle, people who sail and row. Water touches everyone. It's our lifeblood, quite literally. And yet we've been taken to the cleaners since privatisation by these big, greedy industries that haven't invested in the infrastructure to cope with a growing population and now climate breakdown. Well, time's up, guys, because we are now banging on the door of a new government and we're saying we know what we need to do, let's do it. Let's get a regulator with some teeth that does its job properly, isn't in dereliction of duty like Ofwat. Let's invest in those agencies that need investment so that they can do their job properly. The Environment Agency, Natural England, DEFRA. Let's make the polluters pay. Why should we shell out? We've shelled out. Let's make those water companies pay for that infrastructure and make them do it now. And lastly, we don't need any more laws. We've got laws that protect our waterways. Let's implement them. Let's make sure the fines aren't tens of millions, they're hundreds of millions. To pay for that it goes directly into the payment of the restoration of our rivers, streams, lakes and seas. Blimey. I mean, look, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. If they don't fix it, we are all going to get more angry and more frustrated. This issue isn't going away, and that's another clear message for those in Parliament. Today we're wearing blue. Next time, guys, we'll be dressed in brown, and you know what that means.
Do you know where my link is to check in with?
I've got a mic here.
You need to check that one works.
I don't know what to do, love. I've never set this up. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Okay, I can't do that right now, but you need to, that's so that you can have on your...
Against Sewage, but I'm here.
The microphone, sorry, regarding audio issue, can you start? sorry. You need to, for some reason, we weren't getting good audio.
Oh, okay.
So we'll try that again in a second.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know what the issue with that was. Let me just double check the receiver. Sorry, the audio cut out there.
Sorry, hopefully no time's glitch on. Don't worry about it.
Okay, that's fine. What we'll do is if you take this again, Corey.
Oh, right. Yeah.
This, you can switch that up.
Switch.
Microphone.
Put it on, you said?
Yeah, you put that one on. And I've got this one that you can take. And I'll just double check that one's on.
The London ambulance here. All for the ambulances. I'm not sure that they're going to allow coming to us now.
Please can you move to the side? Please can you move to the side? Please could you move to the side?
So we're moving off. We've moved off to the side here. We're wanting to get in and interview some of the wonderful people who are in there.
Stop polluting our waters!
At the moment, we're not being allowed to
Stop
come in
polluting
closer to
our
them.
waters! Stop polluting our waters! Species, not feces! Species, not feces!
Species, not feces.
What
is
do we
the
want?
cry.
Clean water! When do we want it? Now!
We want clean water.
we want?
When do we want it? Now.
When do we want it? Now!
The day. If I can. See if I can pass her the microphone.
Guys, please could you keep moving?
Yeah, we'll let you finish and then we'll come to you. No problem. Yeah? Great to see you here. We've got so many wonderful people who are part of this. Really, really excited to see some of these faces and making a call out to everyone. I think that's a really important part, that a lot of these nature charities have been campaigning for clean water for literally decades. These are people who have been sounding the alarm for a really, really long time. They've been trying to engage with government. They've been trying to engage with different agencies. And all of that has sadly failed because our rivers have never been in such a dire strait as they are now. And so these, charities don't normally see themselves, the nature charities, the environmental groups, don't see themselves as people who take to the streets. But what we know is that the petitions aren't working. That having, sensible conversations with our MPs aren't working. And so now, the environmental groups are really stepping up and saying it's time to do marches like this because we have to make our voices known. Who else is speaking on behalf? I've already spoken to her, yeah? Who else is speaking on behalf of nature? Who else is standing up for the nature that we all need? Because we all depend on rivers. We depend on rivers for our recreation. We depend on rivers to drink from. We literally are drinking water that hasn't been treated properly, that has microplastics in it, and all sorts of issues. And so this is how we get to the point where polite conversations with government aren't getting us far enough. And we are now taking to the streets in increasing numbers of people are realizing that this is the only way to affect change. And that's where we've got groups like Extinction Rebellion and River Action walking hand in hand together, demanding that we care for the rivers and the waterways that can't speak for themselves, hear their voices. And so today, tens of thousands of people are raising their voices to us. And I'm going to give you just a minute to look at these beautiful people here.
Angela, what do we want?
You know what? I've forgotten what we want because we've been asking for it for such a long time, and this government has promised when they got in that they would make the polluter pay. What do we want? Clean water! When do we want it? Now! Loud
That was brilliant. I really hope my mic picks that up. The lady of the River Wye really expressing frustration there that for so long she has been trying to raise the alarm with this, and saying that when this government came in, they were going to adopt the polluter pays, and yet we have no action yet, and there is no more time. Rivers like the River Wye have maybe a year left before all the life in them is totally extinct. We're talking about dead waterways through our lovely, lovely countryside. And so that need to act now is absolutely vital. I'm going to try once again to see if I can get the lovely Liz Reed to chat with us. I'm going to pass my microphone to her and say, yes,
How much happened to you though? Together and make up like never before. When you have sewage, agricultural runoff, chemicals, it's time to say, enough is enough. And today is a good opportunity for us to do that, to come together, but also to share our story of today farther and wider after the day. Everybody can be a part of the change of that. It feels amazing. But more than that, I am really amazing. I am. Remember the country I am. There's still a lot of work to do, but the public have to play a really big part in all of it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and sharing this stuff.
Okay. Brilliant. That was great. Liz Reed from the Wildlife Trust, president of the Wildlife Trust and BBC presenter. I think one of the real amazing women leaders out there in this fight, and I'm going to call it a fight. We're in a fight now. These different aspects of nature. Today we're focusing on rivers, but I think Liz really brought up a point that's very important. People are galvanizing around the idea of rivers, but this is so much deeper, because what we did is we gave away the protection of our rivers to private companies, and private companies have one interest, and that is making a profit. And so whilst those private companies are taking profits for themselves, I believe it's £78 billion in profit, we've had the worst quality of water in many, many years. They're not living up to their responsibilities because they don't pay their shareholders. Their CEOs earn insane amounts of money, in the millions. I don't even know what the number is. I think it's might be sick. So I think Liz is saying, this is really, really. She's also open to the idea of citizens' assemblies, which is something that we've really looked at with an Extinction Rebellion as a way for people to make decisions and have input on what's going to happen with our natural resources, with our environment, with our economy. And so a citizens' assembly is being proposed at the moment in a private members' bill by the Labour MP Clyde Lewis. And that's a really interesting bill to be looking at. Because we have this thorny issue as well. We've got regulators that are regulating. We've got private companies that aren't doing their jobs. And how do we solve this question? Do we put it back into direct public ownership, as Jenny Jones was telling us to go? Do we look at other options? citizens' assemblies are a great way to get everybody involved. And Liz Reed, as we just spoke to, is interested in that. But she's right to raise the point that we can't solve rivers without looking at the wider economic policies and governing structures that have led us to the point where rivers like Twitter.
So, what do we want? Clean water! When do we want it? Now! Listen, we want clean water!
So lots of chanting going on here. And I'm looking in front of me. We're moving straight towards Big Ben.
Jim Murray, actor, get out the way of that picture. Jim Murray.
Some of these placards and art things are so clever.
Oh, right.
What they do. No, I haven't.
Oh, an anglerfish, that's a good one. I think I've seen this bird at previous protests as well. Such creative energy here at the march today. Lots of placards saying so many different things. I'm trying to keep track of them all. Behind me you have this beautiful bird and loads like it. I saw an anglerfish, I saw various types of birds and fish over here. People have really poured their creative energy here today, and just it goes to show that at these actions there's so much creative energy and so many friendly people. It's just, and I see children all around. It's a very family friendly event today, so it's really lovely to be flooding the streets in this feeling of community. And yeah, behind me there's a placard that says "Cut the crap" and "Vote for our rivers." We've got a range of organisations, RSPB here, so it's really nice to be just surrounded by all these people. Would you be interested in being in the XR UK live stream?
Yeah, hello.
Cool. Hi. So here is the owner of this.
Carrier.
Carrier, right. Carrier of this lovely bird. Would you like to introduce yourself and why you're here today?
Hello, I'm Alice and I'm here with the RSPB to fight for our rivers. So, yeah.
So what's your take on, so there's so many people with so many motivations for being here, sewage pollution, plastic pollution, all sorts of things, agricultural pollution. What do you think is really important and what would you like to petition the government to do?
What am I allowed to say? Well, I mean, obviously sewage is a big one for this, but I mean, agriculture is the main polluter, really.
Yeah.
So we need to see our government take a stronger stance, or any stance at all, on the agriculture sector. It didn't really feature in the budget, so we need to kind of know what they're going to do about it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, we need better subsidies for them to actually improve their nature. Kind of. Ah, God.
Yeah, this is quite a feat, isn't it? It's quite a workout.
It's fine. I'm just glad it's not windier than it is. But anyway, yeah, no, I know that there's lots of farmers out there doing lots of good things, but sometimes they just can't afford to. So we need to see them supported and making the right decisions.
Right, and I think what we're all calling for today is systematic change. It's not pointing at one individual, it's pointing at sort of system change, government change.
Yeah, you know, and there's a lot of individualisation of responsibility at the moment, but actually it's the larger scale systems which need to change.
Thank you so much.
All right. Good luck. This is Lawrence, by the way. Lawrence the Avocet.
Amazing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I know. Yes, it is.
saying something on camera?
Yeah, go on, Marina. No,
Marina's middle class.
Marina's middle class.
Amy is fantastic.
It's live, so do you just say yes or no? Yeah?
Oh, just dance away.
Yeah.
Hello.
Talking to the previous number 10 people that you're
Yeah, go for it. Just heading over Westminster Bridge.
What do we want it?
Shoving us in the conservation.
Heading over Westminster Bridge, about to go past Parliament.
Yeah, don't just talk about a surfboard. Think about it.
I'm sorry, I've just gone blank as you asked me.
Take our water back! Running over full of crap! Take our water back! Anyone want to do interviews for life? Take our water back! Running water full of crap! Take our water back! Running water full of crap! Take our water back! Running water full of crap!
Okay. It's sort of just running the audio from the other presenter, but would you be interested in maybe being on the outside UK live stream? Oh, right. Would you be interested in being in the outside UK live stream?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's supporting.
he is.
Fabian, do you do on camera? Do you do on camera or not?
I have been doing some bits.
One more time.
Suzanne. We're just winging it. We're doing great. You're doing great. So if I just come to your side, come back a little bit, Suzanne, and I can...
Yeah.
Bit of a chaos here. Have we got anybody?
lined up for an interview. If you move away from me, give me back the mic just so that I can grab people if you're away.
I just need to know what we're doing, Zoe, because I thought I was supposed to be up front.
Okay, let's go back up front.
If we're going to stay back here, that's fine. But
No. Yep, let's go. Do you want to ask this guy about an interview? This one with the fish? Yeah.
Are you ready to go to us, Peter?
Oh, we don't know if you will. Yeah, let's see.
We just get like this.
Hi, hello, Salmon Man at the front. Hello. Yes. Would you be up for doing an interview? Of course. Can we give a mic to you?
Where do you want to start with now?
So as you've seen from the live stream already, there's so much great energy here today, so many people cheering, they have really creative chants, and I'm seeing quite a lot of my local people as well. So it's really nice to see so many people caring about so many various issues.
I'm sorry. He's with Coco right now.
I was going to get the mic. Yeah. And then when he wants to
Okay. I'm trying to find people who look like they might want to be interviewed.
You're live.
Good, I'm so good to see you. Great.
Can you tell us what made you step out on the street? We've had enough!
Yeah, absolutely what made, because Keir Starmer and his government are not doing their job, they're not delivering on their promise. It's full of empty nonsense. They need to be absolutely restructuring the current way that they govern our rivers in order for us to get clean water and safeguard it for our future. Otherwise our kids are being sleptwalked into a national water crisis. So that's why we're here, to wake the government up. They're already asleep at the wheel, it's only 2 or 3 months in.
It hasn't been long, has it?
It hasn't been long, then you. Did we give them a chance? No, not anymore. They need to be delivering on the promises they made when they were scrounging to vote, which is they were promising a reformation of how they regulate the water sector. They were going to clean up pollution. I haven't seen anything yet, apart from a lot of smiling on television and maybe a vague sort of, I don't know, movement towards it, but there's nothing, and it needs to start now. Our rivers can't wait. No, so this is now an endangered species, the wild Atlantic salmon. In this country it is now the black rhino, we should consider it as such, yet the government don't appear to care about that, and it will be gone in our lifetime. We're doing something about it right now. Even if my cap off. I'm Tim Murray and I'm an actor, and I founded Activist Anglers so that I could try and save this kind of species and stop, or at least do my bit for the pollution in our waters.
So you came to this through love of waters, love of fishing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I need to not just participate, but I actually need to stand out.
Absolutely. It was angling that opened my eyes to the plight of our rivers and species like the wild salmon. But now that I've seen the damage that water companies, agriculture and polluters are doing, it would be completely remiss of me not to try and do what I can with the platform I have.
Lovely. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk.
That's a pleasure. I've just got Hugo talking.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, why are you all here today? Why is this so important to you to be here?
Well, as Richmond Exile, of course, we're on the Thames. Some of us live on boats, many of us swim in the river, so it's a vital issue for us. I'm also a teacher locally, and we have to regularly take our children on school trips to the river, knowing now what it's full of. That feels to me like a safeguarding issue. So I think it's really crucial that we're here today.
That's brilliant. That's really brilliant. Does anyone else have anything to add on why this is so important to be here today on a Sunday? So I'm trying to look behind me. Oh, I see a giant poo emoji. I've seen quite a lot of these today. And oh, Scientists for Clean Water. That's a really good one as well.
Okay, so by the way, we're making our way slowly towards Parliament Square, moving along here in front of New Scotland Yard. There are a few polluters I might like to see being investigated a little bit more by these lovely folks. But I am here with a hedgehog expert, and hedgehogs are really vital and are really in trouble. So could you tell us who you are and what you do with hedgehogs?
Well, my name is Pugh. I'm the spokesperson for the British Hedgehog Preservation Society. But actually, the reason I'm here is because of my passion for swimming in the river. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's absolutely personal. I really love to swim in the river, going along on the Thames, And the last couple of years I've hardly been in at all because you check when the pollution is happening and you just simply don't do it because it's not safe. Friends of mine have got so ill from swimming in the rivers, and this is something which we grew up doing, it's something which we have done forever. So as a point of connection with the natural world, swimming in the rivers is one of the best bits. You're immersed in nature in a way which you're wandering around the natural world. Seeing it's okay, but actually being in it, feeling it around you. You see so much. You see so much around. You see things that just flying overhead. Now you're swimming with your mouth closed, and you're making sure you don't bump into jobbies.
Yeah, it's just incredible the decline, and it's been such a really rapid decline, hasn't it?
Look, you see, we're suffering from shifting baseline syndrome. We've actually got this idea that maybe things are slowing, which we're not really noticing. Actually, it's happening all the time. But because you see a kingfisher, you see a hedgehog, you see a hedgehog, you sort of tick them in. What we're really concerned about is the way that this goes. It's a bit like the idea that if you put a frog in warm water and boil it, he won't notice. That doesn't happen, by the way. The frogs are far cleverer than that. But that's the whole idea, that you're gradually finding that things are drifting away before you've really noticed. And it's got called shifting baselines because you are anticipating trying to achieve what you were brought up with, what you knew as a child. But what you knew as a child was already a massively degraded. So I'm here partly though also because we need to remind people who are making decisions that these systems it's designed around profit, it's designed around neoliberal principles of industrial capitalism which are destined to destroy this life on Earth. And there's really clear examples where relatively recently we've picked up on what's happening, they're acting, and maybe this is the beginning of more than dealing with the water industry, it's dealing with the entire structure of the entire system, because we have to look to models like thermal economics or whatever, which are circular systems rather than these extractive industrialized systems which are, let's say, destined, designed, obliged to destroy life on Earth.
I think that's really great to put this into that wider context, because it's not just about the rivers. The rivers are part of a wider system. And I just want to unpick a word you used, which I think is a really powerful word, but I'm wondering if our friends back home are familiar with the term of an extractive system.
So, I mean, this is, you have a system whereby you have stuff, you extract it, you turn it into something, give it profit, and then you waste it and throw it away. That's a single line of a system. Yet the excitement is the development of ideas of circular economies, ideas where things, you extract things, but then they go round and around in loops, and you keep on reusing. This is not just to do with recycling. It's far, far bigger and beyond recycling. It's about having an entire system which is reciprocal, which is sustainable, which keeps on operating. Right now, there is simply no way. The idea of infinite growth on a finite planet is obviously, for the birds, it's nuts. And the only sort of organisms which do that are when they do that, they will do that. They will destroy what they are growing on. And we need not to be acting like that. We need to be learning. And we have got, it's also simple. We know not. We know all that stuff. We know, but there are a few people, very few people, very rich people, who make a lot of money by telling a few other people that it's not that important. That's where the problem is. We need to understand and unpick those and try and establish something circular.
We need to undermine those systems and unpick them. That's a brilliant point to leave it. Thank you very much for explaining that to us. I think we're going to move on to another part of the march now. I'm getting the direction in here now.
My audio drop.
We all do. It's amazing that we are so united now in our one mission to make the River Avon and the River Stour. All of our rivers are in such a state. I'm the wine.
Most of the eyes behind.
Yeah.
How far back it goes now.
Well, then you'll probably be lovely every season. Thank you very much. Like yours. Like the water. Is it alright to film your kids?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready to do like what way do you want to say something? Are you good? Yeah.
So we're nearing the end of the march, and soon we're going to hear some amazing speeches by some notable figures like Chris Packham, as well as people from across the environmental movement, frontline activists. So I'm really excited to see what everyone is going to say. It's really such an important issue. Water is life.
That was hardly. Sorry, we're shouting. Sorry.
Right, so this is the kind of end stage of the march, which is really quite powerful because we're coming up Whitehall. We're going to be in front of Downing Street right now. And this is where, you know, the key message is, because this is all about government. This is about the government needing to take action. It's only the government that can get us out of this at the moment. The people are demanding it. And so feels
Please, can you keep me keep me posted?
Okay, Charles Watson, we've had your wife saying a few words earlier. Can we hand over to you, the man behind River Action and your fabulous staff that have got us all together here in London today, and these members are absolutely fantastic. I'm so proud of you and all these people that have turned up. It's amazing.
Whilst this government at the moment are very vocal about economic growth,
Need new control. The march has diverted through the embankment gardens. People are walking through the gardens rather than along the road.
the next time we're coming back in round.
well, we have Restoring now in June. We've got now in the
What do we want? When do we want them? What do we want? When do we want them? What do we want? When do we want them? Charles, you just won the award for the loudest. I think it was I think staff member, and then they put a staff member through that. It's kind of part of my section.
And work together to stop pollution.
Deputy Mayor of Environment and Say it loud, say it clear, Clean Rivers needed here. Say it loud, say it clear, Clean Rivers needed here. Say it loud, say it clear, Clean Rivers needed here. Say it loud, say it clear, Clean Rivers needed here. Say it loud, say it clear, Clean Rivers needed here.
Okay, we're going to cut to another one.
need to sort out audio.
Yeah, maybe. When he didn't.
So you got a year left.
Our green and pleasant land, crisscrossed by rivers, studded with lakes, surrounded by seas. It's the home of the White Cliffs, Brighton Pier, Nessie. And it's dying, drop by drop. After decades of government negligence, Britain's waters are officially on life support. Every one of our rivers is polluted. Chemical cocktails of raw sewage, agricultural runoff, and microplastics. Our lakes, lochs, streams, seas, brooks, beaches, canals, coves, and rivers are full of shit. When it comes to number twos, Britain's number one. For those of you tempted to believe the glass is half full, that these are just the complaints of a few hydro-hypochondriacs, and that there are plenty more fish in the sea, well, there just aren't. Britain's fish and aquatic dwellers are dying in greater numbers than ever, their ecosystems choked by algal blooms and pollutants. And they're not the only ones getting sick. The millions of Britons who fish, swim, surf, row, paddle, snorkel, and sail the waterways are at risk. With so much filth in our water, simply going for a wild swim could leave you with cystitis, an intestinal infection, or even blood poisoning. But of course, every sickness has its cause. Every disease has its diagnosis. 35 years ago, the government privatized our water companies, giving up control of the nation's water. We were promised that there would be protections, that there would be laws and watchdogs, that the health of our waters was guaranteed. And we were lied to. The watchdogs have been defunded, unable to prevent record levels of pollution flowing in from illegal sewage dumps and agricultural runoff. The laws have been repeatedly broken, and yet prosecutions are almost non-existent. Meanwhile, the water companies have paid out billions in dividends to their shareholders, and their bosses have banked millions. Our elected officials sold our water, defunded our regulators, and left us to swim in every variety of shit. But the fight is far from over. Britain's waters have life in them yet, as long as we act now. Join us as we march on Westminster to demand change. Turn your outrage into action and get Britain's waters off life support.
Last
100,000.
Yesterday, I was this deep.
Do you know where my link is to check in with you?
I'm here for the march today because I want to give a message to this government that they really have to sort out the problem with our rivers and lakes and beaches, the pollution that's come coming from the agricultural sector, as well as the appalling behaviour by the water companies. It is this man's job to sort it out, and I hope he'll start today.
Good to go? I'm Robert McFarlane. I'm a writer and I'm here on the banks of the Thames at the muster for the March for Clean Water today. I'm here because the slow poisoning of our rivers is a failure of the imagination as well as of organisation. And what today is about is reconnecting people's hearts as well as their minds with water. Water is not pure resource. Water is a life force. A river is a life giver. We have somehow systematically forgotten this, and recovering that memory and driving the change is going to take millions of people and tens of years, but it has to start now. And the promises it made, the promises it made about cleaning up water in this country, for which millions of people voted, those strengths of feeling are incredibly strong, and they are what will drive change in this country. So we hope that Keir Starmer will listen. We hope that we will see root and branch reform of Ofwat and the environment agencies. Our regulators need to be able to regulate. Our monitors need to be able to monitor. We have existing environmental laws that are powerful and punitive. They need enforcing. And I would also like to see a Rights of Rivers bill introduced into Parliament to recognise the fact that these beings, these great blue, silver, brown gods, have flowed in this land for 11,000 years. They were here long before we ever formed a government, and they will outlast us, but we have wounded them desperately. But if we give them a chance, their life will pour back. That is what we must do, and it will be thrilling to watch it happen. Our life flows with that of rivers. It always has, and it always will.
Hi, I'm Nicola Cutcher. I'm a journalist and member of Friends of the River Wye. Now, the River Wye is one of our most special rivers. It flows through Wales and England, but it's really declined over the last few years. So we've lost nearly all the water crowfoot that used to blanket the river. The water's become murky, the stones have become slimy, and we're suffering from algal blooms. And it's heartbreaking to watch. But over 70% of the pollution on the River Wye is actually caused by agriculture. So that's around 3/4 of the pollution coming from farming. So while sewage pollution is a major issue on rivers, especially in the west of the country with high kind of human populations, in rural areas, farming is actually the main polluter. And it makes sense, right? So most of our country is farmland, so most of our rivers are impacted by farming practices. And at the moment, the government is offering nothing to address agricultural pollution. All the measures in the upcoming bills relate to sewage. So they're offering, they're suggesting things like higher fines for water companies at a lower standard of proof. We need the regulators to have those powers to tackle all forms of pollution, not just sewage. If we don't tackle farming pollution as well, we will not restore the majority of our rivers, and the Wye will not have a hope. So we are calling on the government to enforce the law and empower the regulators.
Okay, this is the exciting moment where people are starting to spill into Parliament Square. You can see behind me the elegant Big Ben and the palaces of Westminster, the home of where democracy sits in this country, and you believe in the government democracy. But I have to say, the message from people here today has been that the government really haven't been doing their duty. And so democracy is coming into the hands of people, because people are demanding that something happen. So the leaders of the march are starting to spill here onto Parliament Square, where we're going to be having a lot of speeches from more notable people who are taking their time to join in this cause. I'm not sure that you got all of our interview with Chris Packham, but Chris was very insistent that this is only one of many, and that we're going to continue with this until we get results.
Sorry guys, if we can just get through here.
We're trying to move some folks through here. Yeah, they're getting ready to give the speeches. So there are some Red Rebels outside Downing Street. The Red Rebels are
so far back.
What they do is they really, with such stunning imagery, really talk about
you see the pain and the anger and the suffering through the red of them, and it's such a contrast to what we have here, because the color of this march was to be blue. That was really the color of water, healthy water anyway. But the Red Rebels are here at the gates of Downing Street, really showing the suffering that we are facing of the life in the rivers, the suffering of those rivers, the people that are trying to, enjoy the rivers, the dead fish, the dead seaweed. There is so much destruction, and the Red Rebels here are embodying that suffering, and and also there in this moment of kneeling before us, kneeling before the government, there's also the deep anger that so many people here feel, because we know that there is a solution to this. We know that the government can act. We know that we have laws where we could prosecute the companies that are dumping the sewage into our rivers. We know that we can prosecute the massive agricultural industries in the River Wye. There are 20 million chicken pooping into it. We could stop this, and yet we're not. And so the Red Rebels together are embodying our sorrow and our rage. And our rage will not go away until we have action from this government. This government came in and said it wanted to do things differently. The time to act was 10 years ago. The time to act was 20 years ago. The time to act was yesterday, but now we have to do it today. We cannot waste any more time. And I'm just thrilled with the amount of people who are streaming into Parliament Square. You can hear the drums coming up behind me. Every kind of people, while the Red Rebels stand there and hold and embody the emotion that is everyone's stomach. It's down there. This fear that we're not going to do it. This fear that we won't get there. It's determination. It's speaking the power. And this is what we do today.
Okay, we need to get away from the drums. You were the voice.
Really important.
Here's better.
Unfortunately, they wreak a little bit of havoc with our microphones. So just moving away a little bit from that, and coming out to the side. I've got loads of drums coming in from every different angle. So I'm not sure if my microphone is picking up very well or not. I'm not live anymore.
Do we need to get near the speeches?
I think we're going to try to go to the live stream for the speeches.
Right, so we go behind
stage.
stage.
We're going to go behind and try to grab
We
them.
need to get around there now, maybe, with our press cards.
Unless we want to try to get people in the crowd.
We could do.
Depends on how long it's going to be until the speeches start.
Peter, do you want us to try and get interviews behind the stage or audience shots? Okay, let's go for interviews. Can we get interviews with the kids now?
Oh, perfect!
Can we get an interview?
Oh, hi, Fabian.
Do
you want to go for interview?
Yeah.
Do you want to hold your placard?
I'm trying to interview you, but we had so much noise that we couldn't really hear your voice, and your voice is so important. I'd like to hear it again. Do you want to be asked questions? Have you been asked enough questions today? So here we are backstage now. You've gone through this whole march. Everybody's poured onto Parliament Square. And so you're a young person in the industry. So why are you, as a young person, stepping up on Sunday to do this?
Because I think it's really important that everyone who wants to protect our waterways comes together. So that's one of the few ways that we can that will actually help to protect our waterways and change the mind.
And how did it feel to be in this big march with all these people?
It feels in some way really good. Slow all these people to help nature. But also, all these people coming here, using part of their time to do this, and you really fulfill if the government doesn't listen, what are they listening?
Yeah, I think we'll all be pretty frustrated if they don't listen after this, won't we?
Yeah, we will. Very frustrated. We've done all of this, all of everything this, and they.
Yeah, so you don't want to be ignored. You want everybody who's here to be heard by the government, for the government to take real action on the waterways.
Yeah, because it's the waterways that I'm, as a child, are going to be using into the future. And also, animals, it's their home, it's their world. And if we don't protect it, they'll go extinct, and it's our job.
So it's our job to protect the animals because it's their world. We all agree with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and for standing up and making your voice heard. Good, that's great. So we're here back. Okay, so we are backstage. We can see a lot of the famous folk who are going to stand up and do interviews or do their speeches. So it's maybe hard to see from this perspective, just the tens of thousands of people who are pouring onto this screen. What we're going to be doing shortly is we're going to cut and let you hear these speeches, because these are from some wonderful people who have helped organize this and have some ideas about how we're going to take things forward. And so it's a great opportunity for you all to learn a little bit more about what's happening. Because I think informing ourselves about what's going on, informing ourselves about just how dire the situation the rivers is really important, and finding out ways to act. This is a time for action. This is not a time for just writing petitions. Those days are gone. We're taking action today. We're going to continue. So we're just kind of waiting for the speeches to start at the moment, which we're going to share with you. And then I'll also be speaking to some of these people afterwards about the key messages in the program. So we're just kind of waiting for the speeches to start. I think they're getting ready now, and I believe it's Robert McFarlane who's up there, who's one of my absolute favourite authors.
So I'm going to fangirl back here for a while. We need to sort the mic. The microphone isn't working. So you got both wired. This is from Maz's phone, but Maz wasn't connected. I mean, I've got my Bluetooth mic here. Can I Bluetooth to your phone instead of mine?
Bluetooth doesn't really work in vMix. That's a chaotic start.
Yeah.
Could you hold that a sec? Because just in case he might come to you, so point to you. Okay.
That wasn't on the line. So Zoe's trying to sort out the microphone situation, and I'm trying to give you a picture backstage so you at least have something if you need it.
Sign. Wonderful. Did you make the sign? Not on a Sunday, especially. Exactly. Are you here with any particular organisation, or how did you hear about the march?
No, I heard about it through Greenpeace actually.
Fantastic, beautiful. Well, are you looking forward to the speeches?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, maybe catch you over there. Probably not, because it'll be so crowded. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. So many different people, and so many different people who have heard all about this from different organisations. So this person just now that we talked to from Greenpeace, I was walking past people from the National Trust, of course XR, we've got Valley Society over here, beautiful, more homemade signs, absolutely. Such a diversity of people. We've got some really big signs in the back with some Thames water themes. So I'm going to go over there. We might switch over to Parliament Square if we've got somebody live there. I think the internet connection might be choppy, but I'll go and explore the different signs over there. So let's take a look. The sign actually doesn't say Thames water, it says Shames water. Well, shame on them indeed. So I come from Oxford, so we have to take our water from Thames Water, and they're one of the biggest polluters of any of the sewage companies. I love your sign here today. I'm with the XR livestream. Would you be willing to give a quick interview?
I could try, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your sign. So Shames Water, are you here specifically about Thames Water today, or what brought you out?
Well, they're just emblematic of the problems we face around the country. It's the truth of the matter, isn't it? So we represent Curb, Clean Up the River Brent. It's full of shit, it's full of nappy wipes, it's full of hand wipes, it's full of cans, it's full of runoff from the road, full of alien plants, and no one is caring for it, and it's Thames' responsibility.
It's absolutely Thames' responsibility. Meanwhile, the CEOs have, of course, been raking in massive profits.
Well, that's the case.
Taking dividends and then claiming that they're bankrupt. It's an absolute sham.
Yeah, and whichever way it goes now, whether it stays private or goes into government hands, it will be you and I who are paying for the reparation.
What would be the outcome that you would hope for from today's march?
And, well, long term, I'd like to see a not-for-profit management of the system and a lot more ecological awareness.
Fantastic.
Facing up to climate change, facing up to the environmental issues we have around us.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Beautiful talking to you. Thank
Enjoy
you.
your day.
So we just heard here many different people out, and the message is quite clear that we want an alternative to the privatisation of water. Now, of course, we heard today a lot about the various different water companies and the roles that they play. But of course, agricultural offlow into the rivers from overuse of fertilisers and pesticides creates a massive issue for rivers, and is actually, I'm not sure if it's a bigger source of pollution, but it definitely messes with the nitrate levels, and this infects invertebrates, etc. massively. So what XR and Dirty Water Campaign from XR is actually promoting or asking for is a citizens' assembly on water and how we manage our rivers, to tackle not only the usage or how we govern our water companies, so if we keep them private, if we nationalise them, if we turn them into non-profits, but to have a decision by the people all around the United Kingdom in form of a citizens' assembly. You can find out more of this on dirtywatercampaign.org or the Extinction Rebellion website. and what this means for the Citizens' Assembly. I will try to, there's so many different organisations here. I'm going to try to find some more interviews with people from different organisations, and I think we'll have the speeches starting real soon in Parliament Square. Fishes, not feces, that's another big one. Wonderful, look at this.
Okay, great. So we apologise for some of the microphone problems that we've been having. Doing a live stream is a technical thing that's really quite difficult. There's a lot of different moving pieces with it. So I'm sorry if you couldn't hear some of the amazing interviews that we've been doing. So I'm checking to see if my microphone is any better now. And see if you can pick up a little bit more. So we're still in that waiting stage for things to happen. We're back here, and if my microphone is working, then I can go and start to interview people. But I think we're still having problems with this mic, even when I speak into it very carefully. So we're going to go somewhere else, folks. We're back here behind Backstage, and this is really quite exciting. We've got a lot of folks, and there's that energy build up about what's going to happen and all the amazing people who are going to be speaking at this. And I'm kind of buzzing because some of my favorite folks are here. So I've got some young people that I'm going to try to grab. They're awfully busy. I think I'm going to pause trying to get the young people because I've got Paul here. Am
I not a young person?
Well, okay, we're going to compare you to like the 10-year-olds. But you're younger than me. So absolutely lovely. Can you introduce yourself to the camera and tell us what is the exciting thing for you today?
So I'm Paul Packham from the River Roading Trust and Lawyers for Nature, here to campaign for the rights of nature, or at least a rights of nature approach to solving some of the problems we see with waters. And to me, the most exciting thing is that over there, like the sight of tens of thousands of people coming from all around the UK to say that they love their waters, they love their rivers and seas, and they will not stand for them to be polluted and destroyed for profit.
Did you think this many people would come out?
I mean, I hope they would, but I've been surprised by how many. I think when we were coming into Parliament Square, they were still coming over Westminster Bridge, and I think they were still on the South Bank.
So is that what we're waiting for now? We're waiting for everybody to still get
actually
here?
come in, exactly.
Well, that is an extraordinary success.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also been really beautiful ceremonies. So there was a ceremony before where people brought water from all of their different rivers and seas to be put in one container and blessed. And I think they're going to announce on the stage all the different rivers that are part of that, which I think is the most rivers ever brought into one container in England. So there we are.
That's amazing, and we're hoping the next time we do this, those waters might be a bit cleaner than they are right now.
Well, exactly. There's an interesting postscript that the people who were holding that ceremony wanted at the end to pour the waters into the Thames as part of a blessing, and they were forbidden by the Environment Agency from doing that because the waters might be too toxic. Which says something, doesn't it? It definitely says something, and I'm not sure it's good.
I'm really quite speechless at that.
I mean, I think I might go and do it anyway, just to defy them, because I think it's outrageous that we can't take water from all our rivers and pour it into another river. What a sorry state of affairs.
But it's quite all right for the water companies to dump their toxic sewage into it.
Exactly, and I find this when I do river restoration activities, all these different permits and all these permissions you need, and yet when the EA is actually needs to go and do its job of finding and stopping sewage spills, they're nowhere to be found. And even on London's third biggest river where I live, I'm finding illegal sewage spills. I found more than the EA has. What does that say? If a random guy in his spare time managed to find more sewage spills than our main government agency on London's third biggest river?
So that's one of the things that I've been hearing, is that the Environmental Agency has the powers, but they don't have the funding or the people.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time the laws are there. We need to tighten up those laws, but they're being ignored at the moment. So there are illegal sewage spills happening on my river, probably as we speak, and the EA, if it just went out and found them and prosecuted them, could do something under our current laws, but they just don't. So it's a mixture. We need better laws, but we also need better enforcement of the current laws.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you tell us about the River Rodding Trust? What exactly is that for a trust?
It's a very amateur one. It's only volunteers. I set it up 5 years ago with a group of people who live locally, just to try and to speak for the river and restore it. And just as volunteers, to achieve a lot. We take rubbish out, we plant trees, we monitor for sewage. Really, it should be, a full-time job. To me, it's insane that London's third biggest river, it needs someone in their spare time to go and do these things. It should be someone, a full-time person with a team behind them. But we do what we can to protect and restore the river we love. And you see that, throughout that crowd over there, there are hundreds, maybe thousands of people doing the same thing. And I really do feel there is something in the air, in the waters, maybe. There's something happening where ordinary people are realizing that those who are supposed to be doing this job are not doing it. And instead of just saying, well, that's annoying, they're standing up and doing it themselves. From the River Wye to the Roding to the Cam to the Medway, dozens, hundreds of rivers now have volunteer guardians, doing everything they peacefully can to look after their river. And I think that's a message we need to take home here. And it's just, it can feel a very lonely job sometimes. I'm like, why am I doing this, but how can I keep doing this in my spare time? But seeing all these other people here and feeling a part of that, I think keeps us all going. And I think the main message I send out to everyone here is you can be one too. If you're worried about the state of nature, about our waters, it's perfectly within your power right now to go to your local river, sea, lake, or body of water and say that you are its guardian and you will do whatever it peacefully takes to protect it. And I guarantee you, in whatever ways, that will make a difference.
And it's also good for us to be doing this, isn't it? It's it's not just us doing this for the river. We need to heal, don't we?
It's both. It is hard, and there are times when I've exhausted from doing this work and tired and spent a whole day picking rubbish out of a river. Again, another year, exactly the same place, more rubbish. But it's also amazing for the soul for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because humans are meant to be guardians of nature. That's in our basic. It's part of us. We should be doing this role. We want to do it. But also it's a great tonic for some of the despair. You can feel like things are out of your control and you can't change them, but you actually can, and you can go out there and make a difference directly on a river.
Paul, you're really inspiring. I hope people hear your call at home. If they wanted to be a citizen guardian of their waters, do you know a good place for them to go to online to look for that? I'm putting you on the spot now.
Well, you don't go online. You go to your local river and you start looking at it and spending time with it and realising what it needs. I mean, find your local water body, whatever it may be. Check if there's a local group already. Some are springing up. But if there isn't, or if a local group maybe isn't that kind of grassroots radical enough, just found your own and start doing it.
Yeah. There are lots of rivers trusts around, aren't there, that are doing some testing?
The rivers trusts are often kind of more high level, sort of funded projects. They do some good stuff. There also, I think, is a role for that very grassroots guardianship,
which is exactly what you're doing.
Well, and hundreds of other people here. Just go to your local water body, connect with it, get to know it, and you will see what needs to happen. If there are invasive species, take them out. If there's rubbish, take it out. Start monitoring water quality, doing all these things. If you spend time with your river and grow to love it, it will tell you what you need to do to protect it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm starting to hear the speeches behind me, and I'm wondering if we might start to go over to the speeches. Could you tell me what you do?
So what I do is, I go on Instagram, and what I do is, I just go out and I learn about the wildlife and teach other people about it. It's basically just simply spreading the message about my love about wildlife, and if you do that too, all of us would be able to learn a new fact, and that would make us love wildlife even more. So then, what I believe is that we all should do our bit to try and protect wildlife.
That's great. So what kind of wildlife do you talk about? Can you remember one of them?
So I remember one of my favourite ones is the snail. Snails have gone through my life really well because of some of them are common, some of them are rare, some of them are in between. All of them are special in their own way. So I believe it is really special to look after all our animals.
Because they all have a special place in nature, don't they?
Yep, and as well, they all have a special superpower, which is what I believe.
That's great. Thank you so much. We've just had Robert McFarlane behind us, and I'm a bit of a fangirl.
Ebb and Flow, which we've just been watching.
And are we still live then? We are still live. I think at some point we're going to be going over to the feed for the speeches, but we're not quite there yet because I'd like you all to hear this.
People have travelled from every corner of the nation to be here. And a special call out for those who called the 3 a.m. Services Against Sewage Coach True. Also, an enormous call out to Joe and Dave.
My name is Dr. Pete Knapp. I'm an air quality scientist, and I used to live just near here, a place near Waterloo, and I.
The audio is cut out. I'm so sorry. Yeah, the audio. Let's try it. I'm so sorry.
As well as welcoming thousands of people, most importantly.
So we're waiting to get the speeches to you, but we've got some people here
that we're going to just talk to very briefly. And nobody ever wants to be on the live stream, but you've been doing this work for a really long time.
Sing a song.
I think we can't sing a song right up here next to the speeches, unfortunately. But tell us, how did it feel to come up today and stand up on behalf of the rivers?
Yeah, it was very special to be honouring the river, honouring the sound and the energy of the river. What's been happening to the river, to really think about what's really going on, and the pollution and the darkness that's been going into our waters, especially since I've been working with the NHS and the problems that we had with the water in Brixham where I work.
Yeah. So can you tell us, you did a ceremony, is that right? Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, we created this beautiful wreath, which is all blessed with our intentions, our love, our blessings, and it's misted with beautiful water from the river, and we're just blessing the space and putting our intentions for a better, more healthy, clean river.
So we began this morning at 9 at low tide, and we will return there for our closing ceremony at high tide, and then the wreath will be offered with all our prayers and blessings and intentions. It's going to go over the side of the river, so it goes out on the high tide, floats past the Houses of Parliament and out to the waters of the world, with our intention, may all the waters run clear and free for this generation or generations to come.
It really feels very moving to hear that. I'm sure that sometimes, we saw the Red Rebels before, and the anger that we feel at inaction. But what you're really tapping into here is that calm, still, deep beauty that water has.
Yeah, and the rights of water is so vital, it doesn't have that kind of corporation rights, but yeah, it should have the rights of personhood. It's sad that we have to do that, and it's almost like some ways like water needs, on one level you could say water needs a union, but actually water is union, and people need to wake up to realization of our interconnected living body. Water is life.
We talk about human rights, but what rights does the natural world have?
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. It makes no sense.
Even today we were pushed out of the march because we were singing at the front of the march, because we were singing the song of the river. And even that was not, we were put to one side because we're not the important people. And we are here carrying water. We had waters from all the rivers of the UK and beyond, and yet we were asked to move out the way. So it carries on. We haven't got our mind round what's important yet. We haven't understood how important the waters are to our own bodies and to everything that lives on this planet relies on water.
Yeah, I think the fancy term for that is anthropomorphism, that everything is about humans and not recognizing this interconnectedness, that we are just one species on a planet of millions of different life forms who all depend upon it.
Yeah, and the irony is the Environmental Agency has told us, like for the ceremony, which we're totally going to respect that they don't want any of the waters that have been being collected today to be put into the Thames because of the risk of contamination. And of course we would respect that and certainly wouldn't do that on advice. But the irony is obviously the mass pollution that is daily carried out without any kind of form of sanction.
We know that hundreds of sewage spills are happening every day across this country of really, really toxic stuff, and your little beaker of water can't go in.
Yeah, absolutely, we hear you.
I live in Worcestershire, and the famous water person now, Fergal Sharkey, was up a couple of weeks ago in our area testing, and he tested in the heart of Worcester, the city that the River Severn runs through.
and there were 50 times the allowed amount of E. coli running through the centre of Worcester, a massive city. And that's just carrying on, but your little beaker can't go in.
I got E. coli swimming in the sea just about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. The only positive effect was I lost a stone in a week.
You lost a stone in a week from the sickness that you got from swimming in the waters.
Yeah. And there are young surfers as well who, have had massive reactions by it just going into their blood. If you have kind of a vulnerability to already joint issues and it goes into your blood, and people have had things like not being able to suddenly move and being admitted to hospital and being...
It's really serious.
Serious, yeah.
And what happened in Brixham was this cryptosporidium, which was the water from the runoff from a field, was all the sewage that was on the field went into the water, into the reservoir, and then they had to flush all of that because everybody in the whole town got sick with it. Everybody. And they had to pay out millions of pounds to the residents, but each resident didn't get enough to maintain themselves for those 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
We're just not hearing enough about this, are we?
And there's still people that are sick now, but they discharged all the water into the ocean, into the sea at Brixham, which is where they were fishing. It's just awesome.
Okay, we're going to have a moment of silence here.
What does it feel like beneath your feet? Feel the ebb and the flow and the ripple around your legs. Feel the cool water as your fingers tingle along the surface. Take a deep breath. Let the cool air fill your lungs. And let's just pause and take a moment to remind ourselves why we're here.
The river is always my home. Lord, take me away, for I just cannot stay, or I'll sink in my skin and my bones. The water sustains me without even trying. The water can't drown me, I'm done. We might die. Please help me build a small boat, one that'll ride on the floor, where the river runs deep and the larger fish creep. I'm glad what keeps me afloat. The water sustains me without even trying. The water can't drown me, I'm done. We might die. Now deeper the water I sail, and faster the current I'm in. But each night brings the stars, and the song in my heart is a tune for the journeyman's tale. The water sustains me without even trying. The water can't drown me, I'm done with my dying. Now the land that I knew is a dream, and the light on the distance grows faint. So wide is my river, the horizon has slivered, the artist has run out of paint. Where the blue of the sea meets the sky, and the pale sun leads me home, I'm everywhere now, the way is about to the wind of each breath by and by. The water sustains me without even trying. The water can't drown me, I'm done with my dive.
I'm just going to start by saying I've seen you more rowdy than this today, so I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1. I want a massive round of applause. 3, 2, 1! Just want to welcome you all today. I'm going to be with you for the next few hours. My name's Katrina Ridley. You can normally find me on Heart Radio chatting about what Ed Sheeran's doing at the weekend. So it's really nice to be here for a more meaningful cause today. And I wrote some stuff down, but I'm just going to be really honest with you. Like, when I was asked to host this today, I felt like such an imposter. Like, I never cared about any water when I was younger. I didn't grow up by the sea, and water has just changed my life. So I'm a really keen wild swimmer now. Give me a cheer for the wild swimmers! I'm a very amateur but very enthusiastic surfer, and and very importantly, I'm a boater, and I've been living on my narrowboat for the last 4 years. Here for the boaters! But yeah, just to recap for us today, so we're here to demand that the government stop the poisoning of Britain's waterways. Exactly then. But we need urgent and decisive action to end polluting for profit. I'm going to need you to be much louder than that. End polluting for profit, everyone! To enforce the law and reform the regulators. Come on, everyone! Before we start, I also want to say, if you've got a placard or a banner, please can you get it up right now? If anyone wants to take a photo, this is like the best opportunity. This is one my friend made. I very much like, I know no one can see it, but the detail's beautiful. So everyone show off your lovely banners now, and maybe for the next sort of hour or so, if we could put down the banners now, just be mindful that everyone else around you can see. But definitely in the cheers and round of applause, I want the banners up. And also, before we get started with our first speaker, just a few little housekeeping rules. If you're on the grass, just be mindful because some bits are quite slippy. Don't want anyone slipping today. But if you do need a medic for any reason, the medics are over there, just to the right of the stage. If anyone can wave at me who's a medic, people are there, I promise you that much. And if you need the toilet as well, find one of our stewards and they'll help you find the appropriate place to go in a public toilet, obviously. And lastly as well, if you have a dog with you today, lucky, but also make sure you take any waste with you and keep them on a lead, please. I love people get around inside. Right, before our first speaker, I want that massive, rowdy round of applause, not yet. Like, you're down the pub on a Saturday night, it's not Sunday, I've heard how rowdy you can be, so I'm going to give you a massive 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1! It's a great energy today, I'm loving it. first speaker today. And it's very much part of the rowing community. You might have watched her on the telly, give me a woo! At the Olympics, another woo! I know loads of us were cheering her on for that gold medal, but I am thrilled to introduce not only doctor, but also Olympic rowing champion, Imogen Grant, everyone! Come on!
Wow. I think this breaks the record for the number of people that I've ever addressed at any one time. Welcome, and thank you for being here. We're all here because we care. We care about our rivers. To me, each river is its own ecosystem, not just the wildlife, but the humans as well. Rowers, runners, fishermen, surfers, swimmers, paddleboarders, every single one of us benefits from the rivers that are foundations of our community. I care about our rivers because I am a rower. I learned to row 10 years ago now, and this summer I became Olympic champion. That's the pinnacle of my sporting career. But over that decade, I've seen our rivers get worse and worse. I rode past nappies floating in the water. I've seen dead fish. When I capsized, I worried more if I got the water in my mouth and I was going to get sick, rather than worrying about the fact that my technique was bad enough that I went in the water in the first place. We need to do more to save our waterways, and I'm speaking to the converters already. I'm here because I'm a doctor. Every single day I see people in the hospitals who aren't physically active enough, who are ill, who are sick. If the rivers are polluted, how can we swim in them? If our wildlife isn't good enough, how can we walk next to them, run beside them, enjoy our green spaces and our blue spaces that are so vital for our mental and physical health? It's so important. At the moment, there isn't a single river in the UK that is classed as being in good overall health. That's not good enough. Say it louder. Right. This year, 3.6 million hours of sewage have been discharged into our rivers. That's not good enough. We're paying for the privilege of getting sick because the water quality is so poor that there's E. coli and pollutants and sewage in every river in the UK. We are paying just for the water companies to line the pockets of those who invest and own them, rather than them improving the infrastructure that would improve our country. Yeah. Say it with me. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. Now, imagine with me a better world. A world where the pipes have been repaired. A world where there's wildlife on every river. We can paddleboard, we can run, we can let our children play in the banks of the river without worry. We can go for a rowing outing. We can swim in the rivers. We can see the trees and the wildlife, the green grass, and maybe a beautiful sunrise above it. This world is possible, and this march is the start of the new momentum, and we need to call on this government to do better, and that starts today. We are stronger together. Say it with me. We are stronger together.
We are stronger together.
Thank you. Nice, massive round of applause for Imogen.
And it is so true, you can just feel the energy today. We are most definitely stronger together. If people don't believe it, I wish they could just be here to feel it. But we're basically going through all the water-based hobbies now. So our next speaker loves to swim. She's been part of the campaign group leading the fight against sewage pollution in the South East and beyond. It's the lovely co-founder of SOS Whitstable, Salbert James, everyone! Thank you. Wow, there's so many people. Okay, I'm going to take you back to 2020. Sorry about this. Socialising indoors is banned and travelling is impossible. Fear is in the air and human connection is broken. In the middle of the chaos, people are meeting up outside, listening to the birdsong and looking up at the clear skies. They are walking, talking and supporting each other, and in Whitstable, people are swimming. Small groups are meeting on the beaches and submerging themselves in cold salt water, some for the first time in years, and many for the first time ever. In the water, we are all finding peace. Friendships are being made, space created, vulnerability and connection. During the hardest of times, the water gave us the gift of community. It was about this time that we also started to realise just how bad the sewage situation really was. In 2021, Southern Water was fined £90 million, the hugest fine in the history of the Environment Agency. And it will not surprise you to hear that the prosecuting judge said of their offences that they had been motivated by a desire to focus the company's attention on the metrics that increase their income. Shortly after, following a public meeting with Southern Water, 10 angry swimmers voiced their frustrations in the pub, and with a mission to stop the sewage, SOS Whitstable was born. Naive, yes, but we were not alone. Up and down the country, other campaign groups just like us were having exactly the same conversations. A retired detective and his professor friend on the River Windrush, a smart zoologist in Lake Windermere, an NHS consultant in Yorkshire, a long-distance swimmer in Henley, and of course, a fly fishing rock star called Virgil Sharkey. Over pints in pubs, knee-deep in rivers with fishing rods, bird watchers, sea swimmers, fishermen and surfers, these groups started to talk. And it soon became apparent to all of us that this wasn't just a case of old decaying infrastructure, but a systematic abuse of people and planet in pursuit of profit. Our entire sewage system is broken, from the ownership model to regulation to pricing and governance. None of it is fit for purpose. Ofwat and the Environment Agency have watched over a continuous increase in our bills, whilst human health and biodiversity loss have declined, causing economic devastation for all our coastal and river communities. In 2022, we saw 1.75 million hours of sewage pumped into rivers, lakes and seas in our country. And if you think that's bad, a year later, in 2023, it more than doubled to 3.6 million hours. All of the water companies are currently under criminal investigation, whilst drowning under £64 billion worth of debt. And yet somehow they've also managed to pay out £78 billion in dividends to shareholders. Does Australian investment company Macquarie care about our beautiful beaches? No. Do Canadian pension funds care that the fish and our beautiful chalk streams have disappeared? No. Of course not. They do not see what's happening here. And of course, they're getting paid regardless. It's clear that privatisation has failed. It's time for change, and we need it fast. Clean water is a necessity for all life on Earth, and it should not be a commodity sold to the highest bidder. Government must do their duty and enforce the law. We must not pay higher bills that only enable the water companies to continue to pollute our environment. Today must mark the beginning of our joint efforts to put an end to this outrage. We must not stop the fight. Do not let your MPs sleep until they support you. Support campaign groups. Start campaign groups. Sign petitions.
keep shouting, and together we will make change happen. Water connects us all. We must protect it like our lives depend on it, because they do. Thank you.
Keep going to now, everyone! Come on! I'm going to do a bit of boring housekeeping for you, but I'm keeping you safe. And so Parliament Square, the roads are going to be opening shortly. So if you just clear the roads, everyone be very careful. And now that's ticked off my list. Big round of applause for the health and safety! Yeah! I'll take it. Okay, so our next speaker is also a very passionate wild swimmer. I think he's going to have some very interesting insights. I never usually like to encourage booing, but I will for this bit. Having spent his entire life working for one of our major water companies, he's had a 45-year association and 40 years service to Thames Water. And in his own words earlier today, he is now sick of their crap. Now representing over 15,000 water industry workers, please give a big round of applause for the Thames General Branch Secretary of the GMB Trade Union. It is Cliff Rainey, everyone!
Well, the first thing I've got to say is a massive thank you to every single one of you here today, every organisation that's represented, and make it really clear that the GMB Union stands in solidarity with every single one of you. Give yourselves a cheer! Come on! Right, I'm here today to talk about the disgusting state of our rivers, lakes, chalk streams and beaches, like everybody else. Sorry if some of you have had your lunch, but I'm going to be talking about poo! 35 years ago, Margaret Thatcher stood up in Parliament over here and said water privatisation would lead to massive infrastructure investment, much better customer services and better value. 35 years later, we now have polluted beaches, polluted rivers, polluted lakes, and we are absolutely inundated with poo. The water companies are no longer financially sustainable or environmentally sustainable. I must take the opportunity to thank everybody from the GMB side, because the workers who are out there working every day want to do the best they can. They want to keep the water running. They want to keep it clean. Packham, please support them. Many of them have worked in the water sector for as many years as I have myself. Since 1989, around £57 billion has been paid out in bonus payments, shared dividends, and all because the fat cats want their money! How terrible! It is now estimated that £60 billion would be needed to upgrade the infrastructure to get it back to where it was. How ironic! Fat cats have taken the money that should have prevented the environmental disaster which we are now facing. We know that the solution to the problem is better regulation, better accountability, and it can only be achieved by the renationalisation of these companies. Of what have failed to do their job for 35 years. Surely now is the time to renationalise and take back the tap. A campaign launched by the GMB in 2016. In 2023, 3.6 million hours of sewage spilled into our beautiful beaches, rivers and waterways. That's a 105% increase since 2022. They tell us that they're getting better at it. No, they're not. We share a responsibility for the future generations to stop pumping raw sewage into our beautiful rivers, lakes. We must stop this now! We must stop this now! We must stop this now! great pleasure in taking my grandsons, little Henry and Logan, on a day trip to the beach to build sandcastles. Recently, I found myself reading a water quality board that told me certain areas were no longer safe. This cannot be right. I'm sure that many of you on this march today have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren who enjoy playing on the beach and having a puddle, and they now find themselves in a situation that they could be left building a sandcastle or a poo castle. What do we want? Sandcastles, not poo castles. I look forward to a day when we no longer have to swim in poo. I must thank everybody here today for supporting this fantastic movement and putting pressure onto this government over here to do something about it and stop this environmental disaster. Please give yourselves a massive cheer and round of applause for supporting this fantastic cause. Come on, let's hear ya! Remember, what do we want? Sandcastles, not poo castles! Sandcastles, not poo castles! Thank you very much for coming out to support us. I'm Cliff Farney. Have a rest of your day. Fantastic. Enjoy yourself. God bless. Love you all.
Guys, come on. Give it up for Cliff. Louder than that. He deserves more than that. He wants to get a picture, so if everyone can put their banners up.
Up you come!
That's going to be the best picture ever.
God bless.
So right guys, we've heard from the workers of the water industry themselves. Now we're going to be over to the farmers who are so equally as passionate about the environment. Here to give us an insight on how productive farming is completely compatible with protecting rivers. Get ready to give a big round of applause again. It's the chair of the Nature Friendly Farming Network UK. It is Martin Lyons, everyone!
Good afternoon. We've done the technical adjustment and lowered the microphone. So we often hear lots of the information around what the water companies are doing and the irresponsible pollution of watercourses. With 70% of the UK landscape farms have a significant role to play in improving water quality, but also our farming practices are causing problems in places. For our own farm, we're also thinking about how we balance food production and other products with improving biodiversity and other outcomes. And it can be done. There are thousands of farms across the UK are making that balance really work. Unfortunately, our current food and farming system is leading to pollution and bad outcomes. Whether that's your fruit and veg, your Vivitas, your bread, your biscuits, that are farmed in landscapes with large amounts of pesticides that are ending up in our watercourses and our rivers. Whether that's your meat you eat that's ending up with slurry and chicken poo ending up in our watercourses. We've got to make sure that what we eat is compatible with our landscape and doesn't cause harm. So maybe that's products and a little bit less meat, and the concentration of where that meat is produced needs to change. We all need to think about supporting farmers and the system of farming that does the right thing for our landscape and mitigates this and actually causes improvements, not harm. If we look across the landscape of the UK, we have seen intensification of livestock systems in certain areas and certain watercourses. This isn't always the farmer's fault, but it's the farming system and the supply chain. Unfortunately, farmers are receiving very small returns on the products they're producing, but they're encouraged through contracts and supply chains to squeeze more production, which is meaning more pollution, more environmental harm, more poo getting in our rivers. Those supply chains take no accountability and are not held accountable for the the poo that ends up in our watercourses. I must be careful. The farmer is stuck in the middle. We need to make sure we're supporting farming organisations and farmers that are trying to do the right thing. They cannot do it on their own. So make sure you are making those organisations being held to account. Make sure the regulators and the government across there make the polluter pay in the system that's in there. While our food system is making large products, very similar to the water companies, it's extracted. It is not being delivered to those on the ground that need to help improve our system. A little bit of money and a little bit of investment can go a long way in helping farmers improve their system. We often hear that farming is a challenging role and there's very little profit or recognition. But I think farming is one of the most amazing job opportunities and roles we can play. Because it's not just about producing our food, it's producing a healthy landscape, healthy rivers that we can all enjoy. And we all need access to that. So enjoy what you eat, think of the farmer that produces it, and make sure you get it from a supply chain that's delivering good outcomes.
Give it up to Martin again, everyone! Come on! And we're now more than halfway through our amazing speakers. Give me a woo! This is just the most cooperative, nice group of people I've ever had. This is great. But I've really been looking forward to this next bit. Just being honest with you, it's just, yeah, a really beautiful, moving film. And we're now going to hear the story of someone called Frank.
Well, we're here backstage. I'm kind of keeping my voice down a little bit because I don't want to interrupt the speakers. But Imogen, it's amazing to have you here. How does it feel to be an Olympian on Parliament Square doing a protest?
The energy is absolutely amazing. There's so many people from different walks of life here who all have a connection to their river, and having everybody in the same place and just feeling how much people care and how much they want to change is absolutely inspiring.
That's amazing. Can you tell the audience what really brought you to the point of coming here?
For me, it's through my sport. I learnt to row 10 years ago, and so I spend an awful lot of time on my rivers, on the water, and I've really seen them get worse over the last decade. And I feel like as an athlete we have a responsibility to do something about it, especially as we get so much benefit from it. So that's why I'm here.
It's hard to be a rower without water, isn't it?
Exactly. And you know, whether it's drought or flooding, we get affected both ways, and we're not even in the water, but we get affected by the pollution in it.
Yeah, that's great. So what do you think of the turnout today?
I'm absolutely flabbergasted. We knew that this is an issue that people really care about and not enough has been done, and I think this march is a reflection of just how much people care. By the time we reached Parliament Square, some people hadn't even left Albert Embankment yet. It was taking that long to get everyone through.
That's just extraordinary. I wonder if the government's listening.
I sure hope so. I think we're shouting loud enough that Downing Street will hear.
I was speaking with Chris Packham earlier, and he's like, well, we were here in June with the Restore Nature Now March. We're back in November, and we get more people each time.
Absolutely. It's momentum, isn't it? Every one choice, one decision leads to another one. I found that on a personal level with trying to do my own personal decisions that I'm making to try and benefit rivers and benefit sustainability more widely, and we're seeing it on a wider level as well. And really we just need to implement the laws and regulations that we already have. That would be a great start.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak with XR UK.
Thanks.
Cheers. Okay, we're still back here live stage. So many amazing speeches going on. We're in the media mosh pit here, really exciting. And I'm kind of fangirling here again because I'm with Mark Lloyd from the Rivers Trust. And I'm just so in awe of the work that the River Trust has been doing, also to make this happen. How are you feeling today?
Oh, well, I mean, it's fantastic. We're proud to be part of this march. You know, River Action are organising the event, but the Rivers Trust is really keen, along with our 130 other organisations, are here backing this call for concerted action to sort out the health of our rivers and oceans. And it really is such an important cause. You know, I've been doing this for 35 years, calling for, you know, cleaning up of rivers, and I'm so excited now that it has got up the political agenda to a point where you've got tens of thousands of people marching on the Houses of Parliament to get their message across that they want clean rivers and they want them now. And you know, it's really fabulous as a sort of culmination of my career to see people taking it so seriously and really caring about the well, stop this now, is what they're chanting. And you know, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful to see.
Well, it's interesting that a lot of the other tactics that we normally use to get change in government haven't worked, and that's really driven people to the street, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent, you know, as I say, decades talking to ministers and trying to get them to change, and you can just see their eyes glazing over and thinking about their next meeting. And we're finally at a point where, you know, DEFRA, the Department of the Environment, has clean water as its #1 priority. So that's great. And they have launched a commission which is going to look at the water system, and we would like that to be really far-reaching. We're not going to achieve change by incremental little tweaks to policy. We need a systemic change which brings people together, gets people to collaborate, pools resources, spends them in a much more intelligent, optimized way as part of a coherent system. We're trying to play sort of whack-a-mole with problems at the moment, trying to solve drought over there and flooding over there and nature recovery over there and pollution over there. And we need to bring that together, and nature-based solutions are a fantastic way of doing that. You know, you put in a wetland, it stores water, allows it to soak into the aquifer, keeping rivers flowing, it processes pollutants, it controls flooding, and it provides an amazing home for nature and a wonderful resource for people to go and enjoy. You know, people are starved of nature living in cities, and if you can put nature back into our cities, you can slow the water down. And they want sandcastles, not poo castles, is the cry going.
That's a great chance. I think that's a new one for me.
Yeah, that was a good one on the march. But it's, you know, I'm just so delighted that everyone's here. But we do need to, you know, not treat this as something, oh yeah, that's another march, you know. We'll maybe get around to doing a little bit here just to sort of pander to the electorate. People are going to judge this government on the results that they achieve, not the words that they say. And we need to see real action, real change, fundamental systemic review. Otherwise, we're just going to get more of the same, and our rivers are going to continue to flatline, and wildlife is going to continue to disappear.
Powerful words. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
Hi everyone, it's so amazing to see your beautiful faces. This is what connection is all about. Everything in nature is interconnected and interdependent. We are nature, and how we live on this earth affects these connections. And now we know the undeniable truth. And we're all here to say today that the game is up. Intensive industries, corporate greed, and political systems unfit for purpose are destroying the planet's life support systems that we rely on to thrive, and blatantly disregarding our fundamental human rights for societal well-being. The UK is supposedly the 6th most powerful country in the world, according to a measure that was never designed for that purpose, GDP, that we still adhere to. But we have human sewage and toxic agricultural runoff polluting 100% of our waterways in England. Is this really what success looks like? No, it isn't. We are not consumers to be used to prop up a corrupt system favouring just 1% of the population. We are humans who feel, who love, who dream, who think, a species existing for the tiniest blink of an eye in the planet's history, so closely related to each other, all hailing from the same small spot in Africa. We are so deeply connected to each other, and all of us deserve a healthy natural world so that all of life can thrive. Today, you are making your voices heard, harnessing the power of community and connection, and when we come together, great things can happen.
And the thing is, so many great things are already happening all around the world, from powerful gatherings like this that we know have helped to end so many unjust systems in our history, to environmental law organisations and citizens coming together to hold polluters and governments to account and winning cases all the time, all around the world, to ecological economists working to transform the economy so it doesn't wreck the planet, to business communities already coming together to prioritise nature above profits and infinite growth. All of them proving that true success, true progress, and the health of the planet are not mutually exclusive. That it is entirely possible to have a thriving natural world, a thriving society, and a thriving economy. The thing is, though, we don't hear about these positive news stories enough. If too many of us knew, if we could see these solutions in action, the ripple effect of change would build such momentum that those hanging on to this inequitable and destructive corporate system with clawed hands would lose their grip. So, let's be the ones to share those stories. Let us be the positive news that we need to hear. When you go home after this empowering, amazing gathering, please share the story of today and share everything you've heard and are learning about from all our amazing speakers today. Talk about all of this far and wide. And also, tell the stories of the extraordinary young humans who have come here today to speak up for their rivers, for their lakes and their coastlines, and who are already showing us what true leadership looks like. It's a huge honour to introduce them to you today. This is the best bit of my day. And our first speaker is Ramandeep Najjar. She's trustee for Birmingham and Black Country Wildlife Trust, and she's a member of the Youth for Nature organisation amongst
time to speak to the live stream before you go up on the speech. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what brought you here today?
Of course. I'm Melissa Green. I'm Chief Executive of the Women's Institute. I'm here on behalf of 180,000 inspiring women who want to see change.
One doesn't think of the Women's Institute coming to Parliament Square and protesting like this, at least in the last recent years. How does it feel to be here?
I think we belong here. Our founding mothers were suffragettes and suffragists, and they knew how to take on authority and win. So we belong here in Parliament Square, and we're really proud to be part of this day and calling for action. It's our natural home.
Well, if we could mobilise all the women in the WIs across the country, imagine what a voice we could have.
Yeah, we've got our voice behind this. We've been campaigning since 1927 for about pollution in water. So we feel now is the time. That's 97 years of raising the alarm on this. So our 180,000 members are absolutely mobilised behind this. And our latest campaign resolution was just 2023, and our members have ever since been out in their communities effecting change. So we're all 100% behind this.
It's really, really exciting. And what do you think about the turnout?
Unbelievable. I mean, I haven't heard the official figures yet, but I think it's somewhere in the region of 20,000-30,000 people here today, and it just shows you this matters so much to so many people.
Well, it's quite extraordinary, and I think we're going to have to come on the streets a few more times before this is done.
Yeah, hopefully not too many, but if we do, well, then we will be there with you.
Thank you so much.
Britain, our green and pleasant land, crisscrossed by rivers, studded with lakes, surrounded by seas. It's the home of the White Cliffs, Brighton Pier, Nessie. And it's dying, drop by drop. After decades of government negligence, Britain's waters are officially on life support. Every one of our rivers is polluted. Chemical cocktails of raw sewage, agricultural runoff, and microplastics. Our lakes, lochs, streams, seas, brooks, beaches, canals, coves, and rivers are full of shit. When it comes to number twos, Britain's number one. For those of you tempted to believe the glass is half full, that these are just the complaints of a few hydro-hypochondriacs, and that there are plenty more fish in the sea, well, there just aren't. Britain's fish and aquatic dwellers are dying in greater numbers than ever, their ecosystems choked by algal blooms and pollutants. And they're not the only ones getting sick. The millions of Britons who fish, swim, surf, row, paddle, snorkel and sail the waterways are at risk. With so much filth in our water, simply going for a wild swim could leave you with cystitis, an intestinal infection, or even blood poisoning. But of course, every sickness has its cause. Every disease has its diagnosis. 35 years ago, the government privatized our water companies, giving up control of the nation's water. We were promised that there would be protections, that there would be laws and watchdogs, that the health of our waters was guaranteed. And we were lied to. The watchdogs have been defunded, unable to prevent record levels of pollution flowing in from illegal sewage dumps and agricultural runoff. The laws have been repeatedly...
So how do we fix it? Grown-ups in that building are struggling to make right choices, so they need to listen to our voices and come up with solutions that would prevent the water industry from disposing chemicals and harmful sewage into our rivers and seas. One thing we all can do is definitely trying to restore our wetlands and woodlands, which naturally reduce pollution. Another thing the government can do is making more green spaces in our towns and cities, which naturally reduce the excess water and in turn reduce water pollution, which is when the sewage goes into our rivers and seas. It's not over yet. Water pollution is a much bigger problem than we see. More animals live in the water than on land, and they choke to death because of the lack of oxygen in our polluted waters. I know, it's terrible, absolutely terrible. But one thing we all can do is stop poisoning Britain's waters. Let's say it again, this time very loud and clear, in the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Stop poisoning Britain's waters! I can't hear you. One more time. Stop poisoning Britain's waters! Come on, we can do better. One more time. Stop poisoning Britain's waters! That's it.
Okay, well, how good are our young speakers, honestly? They're putting our real apparent leaders to shame. Can I just introduce to you a passionate advocate, especially for restoring the health of chalk streams, working with his local wildlife trust as well. This is Callum Colley.
Good afternoon, and thank you to everyone here for coming. But I now have a question for you. Who here wants the mess that our rivers are in cleaned up? I expect that to be all of you. We haven't a louder one, please. But to tackle the crisis and the sewage scandal, we're going to need some solutions. And firstly, I join the speaker from the GMP in calling for publicly owned water. So that money that taxpayers are paying actually goes to the right causes and not shareholders and dividends. But this will not be enough to deal with the crisis our waters are facing. A change in the way we handle sewage, that is what is necessary. We must address the core issue of stormwater, i.e. rainwater, from our buildings, our streets and our urban centres entering the sewers, as this causes them to overflow, causing major pollution. Now, a great way to deal with this is through stormwater balancing ponds, which I know the Wildlife Trust are a great advocate for, where stormwater is instead diverted to nature reserves and artificial lakes, where it provides great habitats for migratory birds. Therefore, stormwater balancing ponds not only help wildlife, not only reduce flood risk, they keep stormwater and sewage out of our precious waterways. And while I don't have time to go into all the legislation on this matter, because it is quite complicated, bear with me and come on, the people in that building over there, legislate more and expand the current legislation to deal with this crisis and stop stormwater entering our sewers. And can we have a loud cheer? Stop stormwater entering our sewers! Stop stormwater entering our sewers! There you go! One last time! Stop stormwater entering our sewers! Stop stormwater entering our sewers! Thank you very much!
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to give our young speakers the biggest cheer we've heard all day? This is what true leadership looks like. Well done, everybody. Guys, one more massive round of applause for Liz and basically the future. So many emotions about just then, and I'd honestly rather hand over to one of these guys to do the whole job. But are you ready for the next speaker of the afternoon? Yeah. More energy than that, guys. Are you ready for the next speaker? Yeah. So here to remind us that everyone needs abundant, clean water, that everyone as well can be a campaigner. Can I hear for that? Woo! Chief Executive of the National Federation of Women's Institutes, it's Melissa Green, come on! I don't know how I'm going to follow those guys, but I'll give it a good go. So I'm really proud to be here, representing the 180,000 women of the WI.
Floods, we get a lot of air pollution as well. It's what comes out of that stagnant water, that mold spores and different toxins that can be a part of what makes up air pollution. And so when we talk about land pollution, water pollution, then air pollution can also figure into that. I used to live in an area near here, and I had to fight against the use of wet wipes during the lockdowns, during that early stage of the pandemic, and the student hall just weren't getting on board. All of the wet wipes were given to all of the students, and guess what? The sewage blocked, the rooms flooded, and those wet wipes are all ending up in the river. And it's meters high, it's meters wide, and it's meters long. It's like an island of wet wipes. And I challenged Thames Water about what to do about this. They said, "Oh yeah, we'll clean it up." And as far as I'm aware, it's volunteers who are doing that still. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. Thames Water especially have to be held to account. And I just want to raise awareness of the air pollution aspects of what we have in our rivers and in terms of flooding as well. And while I was standing here just before, I just saw Arnold, who is over 90 years old. He stood with us when we protested at the Shell headquarters, and it would be amazing if we can hear from him about why he's here today. I'll go and ask him now. Arnold, would you be happy to tell us why you're here protesting at this particular protest with water pollution? Because you were protesting with me at the Shell headquarters. What brings you here today?
Well, the water issue is really one of the fundamental ones. Apart from the CO2 and the climate, the water is key to everything that keeps life going, and particularly that so many organisations have joined together now today to come and say that we're maltreating the water, and the water will get back at us if we don't mend our ways. We've got no option. We either die of disease or we we allow the waters to function naturally as a part of a living ecosystem.
And in your life, can you tell us how old you are? Are you happy to tell us?
96.
Yeah, 96. So in your 96 years, how have you seen water quality change?
Oh, it's changed beyond recognition. It's quite incredible that we've gone so far downhill to treating our rivers as if they were just part of the sewer system. It's just quite incredible. The more we understand, the more scientists understand and tell us, the more society, governments ignore this and don't take the action that we need to take. So that's why we're here today, to try and get some action from the government, to get some recognition that this is a real impending catastrophe, along with the climate.
And last question, what would you say to other 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds watching this who may feel that they can't come to protests like this?
Well, tell your grandchildren that they'd better wake up and do it themselves.
Great, thank you very much. This is really inspiring stuff.
One of the most polluted rivers in the country as well. But give a big cheer for Nicola Cutcher, everyone!
Well, hello everybody. I've come from Herefordshire, from the banks of the River Wye. And yeah, we've got so many amazing friends here today that care and love this river as much as I do. It is one of the nation's most loved rivers, and it has declined so terribly over the last few years. We've lost the water crowfoot that used to carpet the river. It was so thick you could almost walk on water. Now the stones on the riverbed are slimy, and the visibility is poorer, and there are fewer fish and fewer birds and fewer bugs, and we that live alongside that river feel bereft. And over 70% of the pollution on the River Wye comes from agriculture. That's nearly around 3/4 of the pollution coming from farming. And so we have to tackle farming pollution as well. And that's my main message to the government today, is that all the measures in their bill that they've announced, the Water Special Measures Bill, are all about sewage. And sewage pollution is a terrible problem, but so is farming pollution. If you think about our country, most of our land is farmland. Most of our rivers are impacted by farming practices. If we neglect that, then most of our rivers are doomed to continue to decline. So if we want to restore our rivers and have clean water, we have to tackle farming pollution too. And the River Wye is a hotspot for factory farming. We have between 20 million and 30 million chickens in the River Wye catchment. I'll say that again. Yes, between 20 million and 30 million chickens. And then we have other, sheep, cattle and other livestock, as well as arable farming that's over-applying fertilisers and chemicals to land, and huge levels of soil wash-off. We are losing soil at an alarming rate. But at the moment, our regulators, when it comes to farming, they take an advice-led approach. So when we at Friends of the River Wye find pollution, what we find is that regulators give advice to the farmer about what they could do. And there is no consequence for the pollution. And it's not sustainable. So we need the law to be enforced. And if you think about it, so many people can do advice and guidance, the Wildlife Trust, the Rivers Trust, farming bodies, but only the regulators can enforce the law. That is their unique purpose. Thank you. And it's a regulatory problem. And also, good regulation that is strongly enforced is good for farmers. Because right now, the farmers putting their time and effort and resource and money into doing the right things suffer a commercial disadvantage. Right now, if they go and deal with their silage storage, deal with their slurry storage, put in things to protect their rivers and streams, and their neighbour doesn't do any of that and faces no penalty, then they think, well, I'm at a disadvantage, so why am I bothering? So we know that farmers want this, and big agribusinesses want this as well. Egg companies, chicken companies that say, I can't ask more of my farmers because they'll just go with another company. So we have to have government do this. And if you think about it, Sir Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, a former lawyer, former Director of Public Prosecutions, we are asking you to enforce the law against all forms of pollution.
So next we have a double act for you. Can I have a woo for the double act? And please welcome our next duo to the stage, our brilliant lawyer from Fish Legal and barrister, rights of nature campaigner and founder of Lawyers for Nature and the River Roading Trust. It's Penny Gain and Paul Powson.
Hello everyone. I'm here today because I want to see healthy rivers for fish. And I'm here today to big up anglers. For a long time it felt like anglers were on their own fighting polluting industries up and down the country, but that's changed. And it's great to see everyone coming together to fight for a common cause. Like you, we're fed up with regulators who don't do their job. And with successive governments who, when it comes to protecting our lakes, rivers and coastal waters, have just been kicking the can down the road. You may not have heard of us, but with a group of anglers from North Yorkshire, we took the last government and the Environment Agency to court, and we won. In the process, we showed that their river restoration plans, nationwide river restoration plans, were defective and unlawful. In fighting to bring back fish to one small polluted beck near Pickering, we showed that the previous government had misunderstood and misapplied the law. They got it wrong. It was a case that should have been a turning point. But the last government couldn't accept the court's ruling, and before the general election, they lodged an appeal. We had high hopes for this new government. They came into power with promises of cleaning up rivers, cracking down on illegal activity, and holding polluters to account. They could have chosen to drop the appeal against us and our group of anglers in Yorkshire, but instead, they're spending your money on defending the previous government's inaction in court. We want to make it clear that we're sick of empty promises and endless bureaucratic drift. We want proper regulation for polluting industries, and we want it now. No more excuses. No more delay. We think that every single river should be protected from pollution, not just the big ones, but every river, every small stream across the country that's been degraded and ignored. We think that every river counts. That's our message to this government, and that's why we're going back to court in January to fight against them. And that's why I'm here today marching with you. Thank you very much.
When I moved to and spent time with my river, the River Roding, I knew that something was wrong. My river was dying. And as a lawyer, I couldn't understand it, because there's many, many laws that should protect our rivers. And yet, my river was dying. And I began to research why that was. And I realised that it was deeper than laws. It was because of the entire way that our political, social, legal and economic systems are based. Seeing nature as a dead resource merely to be extracted and used for human ends. For our rivers just being something to be dumped into or extracted out of. And I realised that until we change that fundamental idea, the damage and destruction to our rivers and seas would always go on. As an example, when I sat down in meetings, my river, the River Roding, 500,000 years old, a sacred ancient being, had no voice, no legal representation, and couldn't bring a legal case to uphold its rights. And yet Thames Water, a company, a fiction, younger than I am, has all of these legal powers and rights to uphold the laws in its favour. And I began to learn that actually it's not just a pipe dream to change that. There is a movement called the rights of nature, which says that nature should have substantive legal rights, that it should have personhood, legal personhood, self-ownership, and guardians to uphold and enforce its rights. And this is not just a pipe dream, it's happening around the world. From Ecuador to New Zealand, there are rivers, forests, and mountains that have legal rights, guardians, and personhood. So we know this could be a reality in these lands too. But we also know that it's probably unlikely to come from that place anytime soon. So what do we do? The answer is, it is in all of our hands. And many of you are already doing it. But to those of you who aren't, I say, step into the role of guardianship. See yourself as a guardian of your local water body. Devise the rights that you think your river, your sea, your lake should have. And then do whatever you peacefully can to uphold them. And if you do that, I believe that will make a really substantive difference to protecting our rivers. So, decide what rights your river has, and then step into protecting and restoring it with all of the power you have. And most importantly of all, speak for your river. There should be no decision and no process that doesn't have the voice of nature and our rivers and seas in that process. And why should you do this? Well, obviously because we know our rivers and our seas need us. They are dying, and without us stepping forward to act as guardians, their destruction is assured. But more than that, do it because it's the most beautiful thing you can do. As hard as sometimes as being a river guardian in this country is, I can't think of a better thing that I've done in my life than falling in love with the river and doing whatever I can to protect it. And I urge you all to do the same. Thank you.
Moved to Devon 6 years ago. Any Devon dwellers in the crowd? Yeah, very jealous. Fell in love with the Southwest Coast Path, now does daily sea swimming all year round, like I'm sure many of us do. She's now actually suing Southwest Water. I'll let her tell you all about it. It's the legend that is Jo Bateman, everyone!
My name's Jo Bateman, and I'm suing Southwest Water because I'm sick of their endless dumping of raw sewage into our rivers and seas. When I moved from the Midlands to Devon, I was definitely not a swimmer. But one day in winter, I was reluctantly persuaded to go in the sea. And from that moment, I was hooked. And I've continued to swim year round whenever I can. When I go in the sea, everything going on in my head gets left on the sand. All I'm aware of is me and the sea and the cold. And when I get out, I'm buzzing. In the beginning, I knew nothing about the sewage problem. And to be honest, ignorance was bliss. But as time went by, I learned more and more, and I became more and more disgusted and angry. Eventually enough was enough, and earlier this year I decided to take Southwest Water to court. Thank you. I haven't won yet. I'm suing Southwest Water for compensation because the frequent sewage spills are taking away my right to swim, and my physical and mental health suffer as a result. But this isn't just about me, or even all water users. It's much, much bigger than that. The rivers and oceans are in trouble, and that means we are too. Any threat to the oceans threatens the survival of every single person on this planet, wherever they live, whether that's on the coast or in the middle of the desert. The oceans are the lungs of the planet. They provide the air we breathe. They are the world's largest carbon sink. They provide food, jobs, livelihoods. They are a stunning natural environment full of riches,
a place for recreation and discovery. What the water companies are doing to our rivers and oceans is simply unacceptable. They say they're improving the situation, but I say, rubbish! Last year, they dumped raw sewage for 3.6 million hours, more than double the previous year. They say they have to dump sewage when it rains heavily. I say, rubbish! Rain is nothing new. It's been raining here a lot since the year dot, long before the water and sewage industry was privatised in 1989. We all know it's not about the rain. It's about water companies putting profits before pollution, spending billions on their shareholders and billions on their bonuses. Money they could have been investing for decades in the infrastructure. They say that dumping raw sewage in the rivers and oceans is legal and necessary to prevent sewage flooding homes. I say, rubbish! With the right investment, it wouldn't be necessary and it wouldn't need to be legal. And we all know that very often it isn't even legal. We have the regulations and laws we need to end sewage pollution, but they're not being properly enforced. In 2023, South West Water was fined £2.15 million for environmental offences. Yet in the same year, they paid out £45 million in dividends. If the water companies can pay out dividends of that magnitude, then the fines are just a bit of loose change, and in no way do they reflect the environmental damage being caused. The water companies are polluting with impunity, with no incentive to stop. In the 21st century, we can land a spacecraft on Mars. Why can't we have a sewage system that disposes of our waste without polluting rivers and oceans? It's a no-brainer. There are thousands of us here today, and together we are far mightier than we are alone. Today, together, we send a very powerful message, loud and clear, to the water companies and to the powers that be. We want clean water. Not just coming out of our taps, but in our rivers and seas and on our beaches. It's time to stop letting water companies off the hook. It's time to fund the regulators and enforce the law. It's time for water companies to stop putting profit before pollution, to get their act together and cut the crap. Thank you. And please keep shouting and keep fighting, because nature needs us. Thank you.
Guys, we're like nearing the end of this. That's when you're going to do a massive boo. Exactly, it's sad. But before I introduce our last legendary speaker, again, just a bit of housekeeping to highlight there's a recycling van, which is to the right of the stage here. If you don't want your flag or placard, please take it over there. That's cut out. There we go. We're back again. And also, if you need directions to the tube stations, ask one of our stewards. They'll help you along there. And also, guys, just give yourselves a massive round of applause for turning up today. Come on! Show me your banners and your placards. Come on! Right, for our last legendary speaker, I'm really hoping you're going to go wild and use all the leftover energy you've got. This next guy's a bit of a hero of mine as well, so this is a pleasure for me. Broadcaster, environmental activist, and animal welfare campaigner. You might know him from Spring Watch, The Really Wild Show, and loads more as well. Please give it up for Chris Packham, everyone!
Let's hear it for the
Katrina, our host this afternoon. Why are you here? What's washed you up on the banks of our capital's river today? And what have you come to say? Well, I stand here for the speechless. Today I speak for the mayflies, the minnows, the moorhens, the bitterns, the bunting, the bream. I'm murmuring for the tadpoles, warbling for the warblers, whispering for the reeds and the rushes, bubbling for the chub, rudd, roach and dace. I'm here, spouting for the sticklebacks, trying to sparkle and shine in the murky, slow flow of a stream suffocated by silage waste, blindly spinning in search of the last patch of gravel beneath the tons of silt that is washed from the fields, lost in the gloop of glyphosate, gulping neonics and nitrogen. I'm here to shout for the trout of the Trent, the Tees, the Thames and the Tyne, for those fish whose sides don't shine down in the soup of sewage spilled by the greedy to clog the gills of those beautiful creatures that give anglers thrills and kingfishers meals. I'm here squawking for the heron, stock still in the shallows of a stagnant pond, staring at a mat of impenetrable algae, starving. I'm here for the otter, curled up at the end of the lake, whose poisoned livers ache, whose stinging eyes can't make out the pipes of the industries that have relentlessly and illegally pumped waste into its ancient water world. Today I've come to scream for the seals, the seabirds. I'm screeching for those stranded on the strand line amongst the flotsam of plastic that those tides will tow back and forth for all of our forevers. I'm singing like the siren for the forlorn, those floating beyond the surf, bodies so corrupted with chemicals to be rendered infertile. I'm howling for the sterilised, the stupefied, the lost and lonely whales and dolphins rolling in agony, in toxic misery, until they wash up to wake up our conscience on beaches strewn with ghost nets and nurdles, where they make the news but can't even rot before their plight is forgotten. I'm here to shriek for the beat of the heart of a human fetus whose nurturing placenta is infected with microplastics. I'm here wondering what those particles are doing right now in my brain. You might be wondering that too. I'm here for the paddlers. I'm here for the swimmers whose guts are churning as the bacteria boil. I'm here for all of those who are afraid to go back in the water. That life-giving liquid that falls as snow, beautiful snow, as rain, that crystal clear elixir, that precious wet necessity that pours from our taps, but has been sold down the river, has gone down the pan. Well, let me tell you what the speechless have to say. It's time to stop crying over spilled sewage. It's time to take action. We know what we need and we know what we want. We want a reform of the regulators, an immediate review and replacement of Ofwat, and we want it now. We want a complete stop put on any industry knowingly and wantonly polluting our waters for profit. We want the polluters to pay, and we want that now. We don't want new laws. We've got all the legislation that we need. What we want is for this new government to uphold and enforce those laws, and we want it now. We want every polluting industry to start investing for the long term, upgrading infrastructure, reducing water wastage and leakage, increasing efficient water use everywhere. And guess what? We want it now. Listen, we might be minnows, but together today we are mighty. And our message is as clear as the chalk streams of yesterday. We want our water back, and we want it back cleaner and better. I just want to say a massive thanks to the organisers, River Action. Now listen, I think you can do better than that. Let's say thank you to our organisers, River Action. Let's say thank you to all of the other organisations that have come together to support this march. Let's hear it for the speakers that have given up their time, their energy, passion and enthusiasm on this stage. Let's hear it for the media that have turned up today. Thank you very much. And thank you to you, mighty minnows, because this is the day that we've turned up in blue. We've been polite, but next time we might be coming in brown, and we won't be quite so polite then. And I'd also like to ask you to raise the veritable roof for our missing hero, the champion of freshwater campaigning, the one and only Mr. Fergal Sharkey. And lastly, let's hear it for our water. We want our water back, we want it cleaner, and we want it better. And when do we want it? Now! Thank you very much.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but this is the end, everybody. Time to go home. Thank you for coming out for your waters. Take a safe journey back. Remember what you came for. And stay safe. Thank you for coming.
Wow, what an amazing day it's been, the March for Clean Water. Coco, thank you for being part of the presenting team.
Thank you.
It was amazing to have you here. What were the things that really stood out for you?
I think what stood out to me were there were so many organisations part of this coalition,
And so we're doing the Extra UK live stream, but I met people from organisations that I hadn't really talked to before. So I met Surfers Against Sewage. I met people who are dressed in scientific robes, medical people, so many people from across different sectors, and that's what really stood out to me. It's just this coalition. It's not just any one organisation that's doing this today.
I mean, rivers touch everyone, don't they? It's actually a really unifying theme, I think.
It is, and I think what also stood out to me personally was that there were so many types of pollution that we're fighting against. It's microplastics, it's sewage pollution, it's chemical pollution, and we're really calling on the government to fix all of these things, not just one of them.
And right behind us, I think this whale here that's all made with different kinds of plastic pollution that have been found, it's
incredible.
actually really quite sad and quite profound, really, isn't it?
It is, and I think that is the thing about these actions, is there's a lot of sadness and a lot of grief, but there's also a lot of joy in all being together and knowing that when we come together, we are powerful.
Absolutely. So I really want to thank all of you for tuning into this live stream. We hope you feel as inspired as we have found. This has been the March for Clean Water. It's the first time there's been a march like this, and it's just really the beginning. And we need everybody to stand up and get involved. There are Extinction Rebellion groups across the country that you can join. Just Google Extinction Rebellion and go to local groups. You'll see it. There's also, your local river trust is out there testing your water every day, trying to find out if it's safe, learning patterns of pollution. You've also got MPs that you can go bang on their doors and tell them it is time to take action now. Get involved with something meaningful for you. But the important point is that now is the time for action. And, Chris Packham said, we've come in blue this time. I've got my blue on. Coco's got her blue on. Next time we might come dressed in something just a little bit more brown and smelly, because we're not going away. And we hope that those of you who have been watching will join us on the streets next time. Get involved. Now is the time. Climate action now. Nature action now. River action now. Join us. Thank you.
Thank you.